Heidi ho, boys and girls. After the opening of Phoenix at vild-svinet, I think it's finally time to actually tell you what the top 20 roller coasters in Denmark are.
And that's a fact.
We've got an excellent collection now of great family coasters and thrill coasters alike. I've now been able to ride almost every single coaster in the country apart from Kampala Express, which is a kiddie coaster at a zoo, and of course the brand new powered coaster T-Rex family coaster at vild-svinet. But I don't think it would necessarily make the top 20 anyway, based on a lot of reviews I've heard by now.
Boring!
So therefore, here is my official top 20 roller coasters in the mud pit of Scandinavia. At number 20 we have vild-svinet at Tivoli Gardens. This is a Mack Rides Blauer-Enzian, or a powered coaster of course, and it was an upgrade from the old powered coaster which was Odin-Expressen. Vild-svinet has pretty much the same layout, just with much better track profiling.
This is brilliant, but I like this.
And this is the best layout I've tried for a powered coaster. It has great laterals, which it really focuses on throughout the entire layout. Two hard-hitting moments and a very sustained lateral helix. There are a bit of positive forces here and there, nothing strong, but they're still very fun for a powered coaster. Plus, it has a cool location going over the pathways. It's a super comfortable ride and just very, very good for a power coaster. At number 19 is Extreme Racers at Legoland Billund. This is a Mack Rides Wildemaus. It is the large park variant and is a classic Wild Mouse experience, but bigger. In the recent years it got renovated, and as I've been told, it was definitely not as good before the renovation.
Upgrades, people! Upgrades!
Now it offers fantastic laterals for a standard Wild Mouse. It's almost on par with some Gerstner bobsleds. Those laterals can really provide some fun times. It has a very fun drop, and the first half in general is just really good. The second half is a little slower and isn't quite on par with the first half, but quite frankly it doesn't matter too much to me. At number 18 is Cobra at Tivoli Friheden. This is an infamous Sartori Rides Energizer, a ride that probably should never have been built. It is incredibly sketchy, it has a very poor history unfortunately, but it still stands as Denmark's one inverted looping coaster. It has very forceful inversions. In fact, both the implement and the Cobra roll really slap. The rest of the layout is there, it's okay. The ride is very rough, however it does have very good and soft seats and restraints, so that really helps it with not being painful. There's only one really painful moment of the ride, which is this right here. So overall this is a fucked ride, but it's still fun. At number 17 is Flying Eagle at Legoland Billund. This is just a Sierra Force coaster, the 281 model, but honestly this is a really good family coaster. It runs 2 laps, so kinda like a kiddie coaster, but it combines a small dose of positive forces and a small floater airtime moment as well. The forces are pretty okay, and I like to call this zigzag the rides because of these 2 moments of zigzags, which also provide a little bit of laterals. Overall it feels fast, it has really great theming, and I just have a soft spot for this for some reason. Number 16 is Thor's Hammer at vild-svinet. This is the 480/4 variant of the Gerstner bobsled models, and this is what a Wild Mouse should be. Bobsleds in general are the upgraded Wild Mouse models, and this just provides really amazing laterals in its switchbacks. It has very good and forceful helixes, fun drops, a great setting over the water and the pathways. Overall, this just provides a little bit of everything. It's their oldest coaster in the park now, but it still very much lives up to what it's supposed to do and is quite a fun ride. At number 15 is Drauen at Legoland Billund. This is a Mack Rides powered coaster, or Blauer-Enzian once again. It's a half dark ride, half roller coaster. It starts out with an amazing pre-show, which is really just dark ride like. There are many amazing scenes, and honestly this part is what makes the coaster so good. It's a fantastic part of the ride.
Fool of a took.
After that, you have a Uyghur launch section where the coaster gets up to speed, and then it goes outside into the actual coaster section, which is fun but short. It does grant a little bit of lateral force and a little bit of lateral hang time as well, and it has great scenery. The overall experience of this coaster is very good. The dark ride is the highlight, and the faster coaster part at the end is just a very good way to end the ride. At number 14, you're probably gonna slaughter me because this is a super low spot. I am aware of that.
I know.
This is Tornado at Bakken. It's the only variant of Intamin's spinning coaster model, and it is incredibly famous and infamous at the same time. It's super unique and super intense. I would say this is probably the most intense coaster in Denmark. It features what I believe is a one-of-a-kind launch, with it being dual-chained, hydraulic-powered, and a lift hill at the same time. It's very weird. It throws you into the most intense drop I've tried on a coaster, which, as Vild-svinet often says, feels like a fucking car crash. You get smashed with some of the hardest laterals and airtime in this drop, and literally like half a second later, 5 Gs at the bottom of the drop. The rest of the layout also has many intense moments with a few breaks in between to let you breathe. So overall, this coaster should be higher in the list. My problem with it is that it does also have a lot of roughness. Depending on the spinning itself, you can have a terribly rough ride where you will get a lot of neck banging on the over-the-shoulder restraints. Plus also, I'm just not the biggest fan of spinning coasters. I don't like getting sick on rides, and spinning coasters can sometimes do that. I sometimes do get a flawless, fucking amazing ride on this coaster. But 3 out of 4 times, that's just not the case. At number 13 is Scandinavia at vild-svinet. This is a Mack Rides water coaster, the Scandinavia layout itself, and this is a short but sweet ride. It combines a very nicely themed pre-lift section with a fun and faster layout. It's got a great overall atmosphere, a good location, and when it comes to the layout itself, it has one very long moment of laterals in this big curved drop and ascent, and then my favorite part of the ride, this double dipping drop. It's not quite a double down, but it starts going down, goes a little straight, and then it goes further down, almost like an aero hybrid coaster, and that's what I call a double dip, and it's incredibly floaty. You also have a somewhat floaty bunny hill afterwards with a bunch of speed, hitting right down into the splashdown, which is always fun.
I'm wet, I'm cold.
I love water coasters, and this one is just really, really good. At number 12 is Draukong at vild-svinet. Now, typically, you either love this or hate this, but I am still kind of in the middle, to be honest. It's an Intamin suspended family coaster, the first of its kind, and I actually used to prefer Scandinavia, but not after my last visit last year. I will get the negative out of the way first, because it is a disappointment of a ride compared to size and advertisement. It's relatively tame throughout the entire layout, even though it has a bunch of elements that should do more than they actually do. And it's also surprisingly rough. This coaster is only 5 years old, but for some reason it's very rough for a brand new Intamin. It's really annoying. But it still does provide a fun ride. I still like a lot of the elements, especially because some of them are very funky. It has one helix of sustained forces, which is easily the most intense part of the ride by far. It has a very fun pre-lift section with a small launch and a helix in the dark, and overall the coaster just has phenomenal theming. So the entire ride is sort of a mix between really good and fucking shite. I just hope that Intamin gets better with their suspended family coasters in the future, but yeah, I mean, it's still in number 12. I still really do have fun on this coaster, I'll admit. At number 11 is the Monen, and now we're getting into the coasters that I just really love in this country. This is one of the world's smallest B&M floorless coaster. It is incredibly small and a very impressive fit.
Ooh, that's kind of small. Yikes.
It goes over the pathways and everything, and it's very surprising it was even able to be there. It is a milder ride, but it's still very fun. While most of the ride isn't necessarily very forceful or very whippy for that matter, it still does provide a few moments of very nice force, and overall the ride is just fun. It has a wonderful drop, then it has some very good pacing. The loop and implement are a little lackluster, but at the bottoms between them you will find some good forces. The Zero G wall is just super fun, slightly whippy and very floaty, and overall it's a scenic ride as well. It's a short ride, it's not very intense, it's kind of rough, but it's so solid. Kicking off the top 10 is Mindtrain Ulven at Bakken. This is an Intamin family coaster, a very old one from 1997, and it is a Ulven layout. And for a family coaster, I think this packs a punch. It has a forest setting, which is fantastic in the summer period, and I can't talk about this ride without talking about the drop. The first drop is fucking incredible. It starts slightly curving before then twisting to the right, and it is very, very steep. If you sit in the back row, you're gonna get an amazing pop of a lateral ejector airtime. Not to mention, you can get a pretty loose restraint on this coaster. The rest of the layout is also very good with some pretty decent forces and a fast-paced ending. I think this is the best coaster at Bakken, and it's very good at showing how a classic family coaster can really do something. At number 9 is Orkanen at Vild-svinet. This is a Vekoma suspended family coaster, the 453 meter layout. As I've said many times before, this is one of the more intense variants, and it is a perfect thrill for the entire family. It provides a thrilling first half with some very good forces and high speed, and then a much more family-friendly second half, pretty much giving something for everyone. The pacing could be a little bit better, but it is super fun anyways and has a superb location. And it's just a fantastic way to introduce your kids to G-forces. And number 8 is vild-svinet. This is the 500/8 Gerstlauer Eurofighter model, and it has a lot of historical significance. This is actually the first Eurofighter, and even more important, it's the first coaster ever to utilize a beyond vertical drop. Now, most of the ride doesn't actually do too much. The loop is decent and the overbank gives a good sense of speed, but otherwise there isn't really much to talk about. In fact, most of the ride is held up by that drop. The drop is fucking amazing, alright? It is very powerful ejector airtime, and it's just super stomach dropping and fun. In fact, I think this coaster is such a good example of how one element can significantly boost a ride. And if it wasn't for the drop, it would just barely crack this top 20, I think. I hope it lives on for a long time because this is such an iconic ride. And number 7 is Rutschebanen at Tivoli Gardens. I'm still honored to this day to say that yes, this is an L.A. Thompson scenic railway, which really has so much meaning in itself. It is the oldest roller coaster in Europe, and it just doesn't show its age. Considering it's 108 years old, it's criminally smooth. And it even provides a great thrill, amazing laterals which are very sustained and very fun, as well as so good airtime. The very front row gets some good ejector pops, and the very back provides strong sustained flojector airtime. It's beautifully themed as well with an amazing facade, and it's just a very special ride with a lot of charm, which is only boosted by the brakemen, who also judge how fast your ride will be. And number 6 is Polar Explorer at Legoland Billund. This is their best coaster in my opinion, and it is a zero elevated seating coaster. Apart from just an okay drop, loser! This feels like an upgraded, more modern version of Mine Train Ulven. It has 2 powerful helixes that are very good and fast. It has 2 very fun bunny hills where you can really get out of your seat because the restraints are very good at allowing good airtime. And it of course has a very fun drop track. The drop track is fucking awesome. It feels like a forceful drop tower. Of course though, the drop is very short, but it is very fun, and for some reason I'm always surprised as to how forceful it is. It also has some great theming outside. It does lack it inside unfortunately, apart from these fucking cute penguins. But man, is this just a very good overall package. It is a shorter ride, but it packs a punch. We're now at the top 5 best roller coasters in Denmark, and the great thing about this is that it's only shared by 2 parks, which I also definitely think have the best coaster collection in the country. And number 5 is Juvelen, which is an intimate family launch coaster. It is the Juvelen layout itself, which was cloned in France. And this ride is an absolute speed machine.
Why are we going so fucking fast, nigga?
While it might be a family coaster, it is a very thrilling family coaster. It's low to the ground, going through a bunch of awesome scenery, ruins, waterfalls, you name it. It's an experience in itself. But on top of that, it also has some really nice forces, as well as some fantastic transitions all over the place. This thing is whippy. It's got some proper G-forces as well a few places, and while it does lack airtime on literally every single hill it has, what the fuck? That is not what this ride is about. It is about the overall package, which is fucking incredible. Even the launches themselves are pretty decent, even though they are, of course, drive tire launches. There's so many great things to say about Juvelen. Just the fact that you're sitting on ATV cars boosted, and it's so fun. At number 4 is Falcon, our SNS wooden coaster, which in itself is a rare credit. It has a classic woody layout with a bunch of hills and turns, and on these hills you're gonna get some pretty great airtime, especially in the front row where a lot of them provide standing airtime that is very sustained. I would say front row is king. Apart from the drop itself, which is phenomenal in the back row. Aside from having a great layout filled with strong floater airtime, the ride is super rough. This thing makes you feel like a tool. And while I can get a headache in some rows, if I just ride in the right row, it doesn't really bother me, so it could definitely be worse. In fact, to some extent, it's pretty fun. And number 3 is Lynet, a Gerstlauer Launch Coaster 540 model. It's one of 2 ever built, and it has a great separated layout. What I mean by that is it's parted into 3 sections. One with a very powerful launch, as well as some awesome, super strong airtime and a very lateral-filled, floaty top hat as well. It has a section with a little bit of force and 2 very floaty inversions, and then a final section with a bit of laterals and some good positive forces. People say this is a rough ride, but I don't think it's that bad. It doesn't bother me at the least. This ride is just a good ride that packs a good punch. It's a great thrill coaster, honestly. And it plays on several of the things that I have a weakness for.
That's why I love.
And number 2, here it is, Piraten. Piraten used to be the best roller coaster in Denmark, if you ask me, for so many years. But here we are with it at the number 2 spot. It's an Intamin Megalight. I will keep calling it a Megalight Intamin. And this ride is one intense package. It has some strong ejector airtime throughout most of the layout, and some of those airtime moments are even mixed with laterals. The infamous Twisted Trio is a great mix of twisted bunny hills, all of which are whippy and very powerful. The ride also has some high G-forces. In fact, this ride is a gray out guarantee for me in the first turn. So it provides the 3 main forces, all of which are very, very good. It's a 10 out of 10 ride, and while it's very simple, it does exactly what I need to do, and I couldn't ask for anything else. But sometimes it is possible to bring that extra value, which is exactly what Phoenix at Fall of Summerland does, which is our number 1 spot. It is the brand new Vekoma MK1101 Wildcat, and it is Denmark's newest roller coaster and officially now their largest.
Look at the size of that thing.
On this coaster, variety and pacing are king. It's an absolute airtime machine, but it mixes several kinds of airtime. Ejector hills, twisted drops, outer bangs, and the drop itself, which is just long, sustained, powerful ejector. It has amazing inversions with super good whip and hang time, and head choppers as well. The overall intensity with the G-force is also good. It's not an insanely forceful ride. Piraten is certainly a more intense ride, but Phoenix just delivers more overall. It's even got better theming, to be honest. And it's also the smoothest coaster I've ever ridden. There's so incredibly much to love about Phoenix, as long as you don't go in and expect something of Lek Coaster or Sky Rush level of intensity, because this thing is very much about quantity and variety, but also a little bit about good quality, because there's nothing on here that's bad. And with top tier pacing, this ride just storms through the layout. That is my official top 20 roller coasters in Denmark. Let me know what you think, and if you want to kill me by now because of the spot that Tornado got.
Here's Johnny.
If you have a list of your own, or just a top 5 or 10 or anything like that, I want to hear all of it, man. It's been a pleasure, so thank you so much for watching. I want to wish you all a very good weekend. I don't even know if it's Monday by the time I'm uploading this, but it doesn't matter. Have a good weekend, boys. Bye!